Hey, I'm making this video here for all of the great Stepstone people who joined me over this last weekend in San Antonio for the Stepstone Convention 2022, where I taught the class on cold calling. Now, I know not everyone was able to attend, and for those of you who attended the Friday afternoon class, that class seemed like it was a little rushed. And I wanted to take some opportunity here to go over some of the techniques that we talked about in that class. A lot of people come up to me afterwards. They asked me, if I could make a video or something to go over, how to go through the script and some of the other things as well as lists and skip tracing. And I figured instead of me meeting people individually, which I love doing, don't get me wrong, I love taking that opportunity and meeting with other people to talk more about their businesses and see how we can help. But I figured another great way is to take this opportunity to make these videos and share it with you guys. So that way, if you have any questions at all, or you feel like there's something that's missing, you can always refer back to here and rewatch this. And if you do have any more questions, or you do have something that wasn't quite hit, reach out to me. And my contact info will be down below here. So feel free to reach out to me. May not be able to get back to you immediately, but I will do the best that I can to make sure I'm as receptive to you and can answer your questions. Because at the end of the day, I still have my business that I'm running. So if I don't get back to you, I'm not ignoring you. But let's table that for right now. Let's dive into this. So one of the most requested things that kept coming back to me is, how do I handle the introduction to the call? So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with going through from the introduction to the call all the way through to the end. And I'm going to break it up in different segments and different videos. So we're not going to handle the entire script on this one call. I'm just going to handle the first part, which is the introduction. And the reason why is because the introduction is so critical. The first part of your call, or the first 5 seconds of your call, is probably the most important part, because that first 5 seconds of the call is going to determine how that's going to go. Whether it's going to go really, really well and they're going to talk to you and maybe set up an appointment, or you're going to qualify them a little bit more, or that first 5 seconds, they're just going to click, hang up right on you. So we have very little time. So the biggest thing is when the first part of the call, or really throughout the call, comes down to your tone of voice and your pacing. So many people, they just want to rush through the call really quick and just really get after that seller to get everything out of the script. But then, they wonder why people they get uncomfortable, they hang up on them, they feel like they're being scammed. And that's the whole thing. Because if you go in there, full professional, straight on salesy, and you could tell that you're being scripted, so many people, they're getting these calls, right? They're getting calls from you, they're getting calls from other people, health insurance, auto car warranty stuff. And if you're so crisp, you're so pristine with the way you're handling your calls, you come off like another scam, right? So the best way that I've found, at least, to handle the calls really boils down to, again, slowing down your pace, slowing down your tone, and sounding natural, just sounding like, everyday person. Think about it. If you go to Starbucks, right? I say that because, I'm a coffee fanatic. So of course, I'm going to use Starbucks. But say you go to Starbucks, or you go to a coffee place, or you go to somewhere where you're going to interact with somebody, right? And let's just say you bump into somebody at Starbucks, and are you going to talk to them like a script? Are you going to talk to them like a robot? No. You're going to talk to them like a human to human. Hey, how's it going? How's your day going for you, right? You're going to be your tone is going to be friendlier, it's going to be happier or grumpier, depending on how you are when you go to Starbucks. I know before I have my first fix in the morning, it might be a little edgy. But you want to, for certain, just sound like a human being. So for the way the script is drafted, and if you don't have the script already, again, there will be a link below for you to download, a script that I've worked off of. But you want to just take that script and just talk to them like another human being. So that's why you'll notice the first part of the script, it just says hey and first name. I've seen so many other call scripts out there where they say, oh, hey, I'm looking for such and such. Well, when you say, hey, I'm looking for, that comes across almost like a telemarketer or a debt collector. And you got to imagine, since this call is drafted as something going towards someone that we're looking to buy a property from, not that we're trying to list with or do business with in particular, but it's to someone that we are looking to engage with to buy their property in some way, shape, or form. So these people that we're working with a lot of the times are already dealing with debt collectors or financial people calling them or something. So if they hear, "Oh, hey, I'm looking for John," well, that sounds like maybe it's a debt collector, and a lot of these people are avoiding these calls, right? So the reason why we have it as like, "Hey, first name" or "Hey, John," is because we want to be sound personalized, right? So imagine you're making a call to like your best friend, right? Or you're making a call to your neighbor, right? You're not picking up the phone and going, "Oh, hey, I'm looking for John." Your friend's gonna look at you weird, like, "What are you talking about? This is John. You know this is John. You call me all the time at this number. What's going on?" I want them to get the impression that we know each other already, right? So if they already have that impression that we know each other, they're more apt to try to go on with the conversation, even if they have no clue who you are. They're more apt to go on with the conversation at that point. So we just make it very natural. And so we goes ring ring. They pick up the phone, and they say hello, and I go, "Oh, hey, John." Right? And I just want to say it just in a nice, easy pattern there. Like, I don't want to have like an upswing when I'm saying the name, so I don't want it to be a question, right? Because if I say it on an upswing and it sounds like a question, "Oh, hey, John," that comes across, again, the same way as "I'm looking for." It's not a question, it's an assumption. I'm already assuming I've gotten the person that I need, right? "Hey, John." Very settled. Very, very easy. At this point, they're going to come back to you and they're either going to say, "Yeah, well, who is this? What do you need?" "No, John doesn't live here. You got the wrong number," right? Or, "This is his wife. What do you want?" Right? So if they give you an indication that you're either got the person that you're looking for, whether it's John or his wife, right? Because we'll take spouses, obviously, they own the house too. So we'll either take John or the spouse or whoever. But if they're telling you, "Oh, you got the wrong number," we'll handle that in a moment. But if they're saying, "Yeah, hey, what do you need?" or "Who is this?" then you're just going to jump straight into the next part of the script. And if you have the script in front of you, again, it's really, really easy. At this point, you're just letting them know who you are and why you're calling them. And the way we say this, again, we say it in the fashion as if we are, just some average Joe looking to buy a house, right? We're not some big professional company or anything like that. We're just, your average Joe who lives down the street or maybe a few neighborhoods over, and we're just calling around to see if anyone might be looking to sell. So we want to give that impression that we're not some big company, right? So the way I always say this is I just come off and tell them, "Well, hey, yeah, my name's Chris, and I'm sorry, I know this is just totally random, but I was actually just calling about this property that I think you own over here on Main Street," and I cut it off right there. So you'll notice when I'm saying that, I have pauses, I have breaks, I don't know. Because again, I don't want to come across as a clean cut, polished call. Like I've done it a million times, even though I probably have, and I've probably said the same line like 25 or 30, 50 times that same day. I want to give them the impression that I'm saying it for the first time, right? So I want to be kind of uncomfortable a little bit. And that's intentional. Because if I come across as uncomfortable, I come across as this is just something weird for me. Human psychology is gonna want them to help me, right? Human nature in general is we are people who want to help people. So if we see someone in trouble, we see someone struggling, we innately just want to reach out and try to help them out a little bit. So if I just let them know, hey, yeah, my name is Chris, and I'm sorry, I know this is just a totally random, but I was just calling about this property that I think you own, over here on Main Street. And the reason why I end it right there, like I don't say anything more past that point, is if we start talking too much, if we start giving out way too much information, or we start giving them information about what we know about their property, then it shuts them down, right? We want to gain control of the conversation. And the way we gain control is by we talk less. We give them a little bit of information and it invokes them to talk to us. The more they're talking, the better the call is ultimately going to be, and the more rapport and trust is going to start pouring in, right? So we end it right there and give them an opportunity to talk. So I wanted to give another quick note here, just kind of backloading this, is when you are making these calls and you're talking to these people, making that introduction, the last thing you want to do is try to add a lot of the friendliness that we think is helpful, like asking how people's day is going, seeing how the weather is. Don't worry about any of those friendly conversational tips. Like the last thing you want to do is, oh, hey, John, how's it going today? Don't do that, right? For one, you don't know them. They get set off a little bit about that. And again, that telemarketer alarm is going to go off. So if you start asking about their day right up front in the beginning of the call, it's not going to be beneficial, right? So I know it sounds pleasant. I know it sounds nice. Just lop it off entirely. Just keep it nice and crisp and clean. Now, you'll also notice in there, I didn't say the full address name, and that's intentional, right? I just say the street name. And because what's going to happen is if I give them the full address, then again, they're going to be like, oh, well, he's calling a database. He's calling some big list. He has everything right here on his computer, and he's just reading it off. Versus if I'm just, I think you own this, over here on, Main Street. I make it sound like I'm looking at a street sign, right? Like I don't know what house it is. I can't see the numbers on the house. I see the street. It's what I'm driving down. It's an area I'm interested in, right? I don't have everything right in front of me, right? So the telemarketer alarms go down, right? They're less likely to jump back at you and go, well, what are you calling about? Is the what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want them to assume I'm a telemarketer. So I try to remove all those telemarketer flags as much as humanly possible. So by not saying, 123 Main Street, Fort Worth, Texas, they're more willing to speak with me a little bit better. Or what I like better, they'll come back at me and say, oh yeah, which one? And I love that. I love when they say that because that tells me they own multiple properties on that street, right? So if they tell me, well, which one? I'll be like, yeah, I think it's over here at 123, right? So then I'll give them the address. I make it act like I'm trying to look forward a little bit, like I'm shuffling around papers or something, because I'm trying to disrupt it a little bit. I don't want them to think I'm some clean-cut, polished person, has everything at the ready. I'm just some average Joe Blow, right? I'm just making a call, seeing if they want to get an offer on their place, right? Really easy. But at that point, they're either going to say one of six things, right? One of six things is really what they're going to tell you, right? For the most part, they're going to say, what about it, right? They're going to say, well, yeah, what about that place? Or I've already sold that place, right? That place is no longer mine. Or you got the wrong number, right? Really easy, really, really easy. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes we may get the right name, but somehow we got the wrong person entirely. But if they tell you, yeah, well, what about it? Which is going to be the most common response in this case. Then you're going to jump to the next part. And that next part, this is where we're going to ask them if they'd want to get an offer on their property. So again, we keep the same pacing. We keep the same tone. Because again, I want to feel uncomfortable, right? I just want them to get the impression that this is uncomfortable. It's just as uncomfortable for me as it is uncomfortable for you. Because one thing you got to realize is that we're calling these people and we're interrupting their day, right? We're interrupting their day, their time, what they're doing. So we want to be appreciative of that fact. And the way we convey that is with our tonality and our pace, So at this part of the call, we're just going to say, well, hey, yeah, I was really just curious if you guys had ever considered getting an offer on your property there, right? And again, I just cut it off right there. I don't say anything more. I don't give them any more intelligence. I cut it off right there. I just curious if you'd ever considered getting an offer on your property there. Cut it, move on, right? So it's really important. Now, if you took my class, you notice that I said that a little bit differently because you can say it in a multitude of ways. That's the straight up easy way. Want to see if you consider getting an offer on your property. Direct, to the point, it works. I added a little bit of a flair to mine. You can play around with this all you like. But I like to just say, well, hey, yeah, I was, my wife and I, or my partner and I, whichever you want to say, we're just looking to buy a property in that area and was just considering, just curious if you'd ever considered getting an offer on your property there. And that's it. Cut it, leave it, move on, right? So I'm just letting them know, hey, I'm just calling around, basically asking if anyone is looking at selling because we're looking to buy something. Again, people are more willing to help someone in need because at this point they don't know I'm a licensed agent. They don't know that I'm an investor. They don't know anything just yet. I'm just saying, oh, hey, I'm just my wife and I love saying my wife and I or my partner and I or something because that's a personal thing. We're just looking to buy something in the area and was just curious if you guys had ever considered getting an offer on that property there. Pretty easy. Now, the wording is also pretty particular. So you'll notice I said, I was just curious if you'd ever considered getting an offer on your property. And you'll see some scripts out there that says interested in getting an offer. I don't like saying interested because, again, people, you can be interested to do anything. I could be interested to go, go see a movie. Of course, I'd be interested to go see a movie. Or I'd be interested to go buy a nice Ferrari or a nice, fancy car. I'm always interested in that, of course. But considered gives a totally different connotation, right? People may have considered, yeah, I've considered selling, right? That's totally different. I may be always interested in selling at some point if the price is right? But I've actually given this some consideration. I've actually considered selling this place. So the words all mean everything. So that's the beginning of the script. This is the area that's going to dive into a whole different series, going over a multitude of different responses that they're going to say after this point. Because it can go in 1,000 different directions depending on what they say next. So just kind of putting all this together for the first part of the call. It's, hey, John. Wait for a response. Yeah, hey, this is Chris. I'm sorry. I know this is just totally random here, but I was actually just calling about this property that I think you own over here on Main Street. Yeah, well, again, my wife and I were actually just looking to buy something in that area and was really just curious if you guys had ever considered getting an offer on that property there. So that's the way we say it. So again, you'll notice right here, and this is why I wanted to record it because you can see my facial expressions. So whenever I'm on the phone with somebody, I do those same facial expressions every single time because it changes my voice pattern. So the way that they hear on their side will convey that way because my voice pattern changes as my facial expression changes. Then that emotion will pass through the phone. And that's what I want to do. I want that emotion to pass through the phone to them. Versus if I just, hey, John. Yeah, hey, John, this is Chris. I'm sorry, I know this is totally random, but I was just calling about this property that I think you own over here on Main Street. Yeah, well, I was just looking to see if we could buy something in the area. I was just curious if you'd ever considered getting an offer on that property there. So if you play that back, you'll notice it sounds different. It sounds cold. It sounds scripted. It sounds precise. It may work for you. It may not. I don't know. This is just what we have found to be successful. Test it out, right? Play around with it. See what works best for you and your style. But this is what we've found to be pretty successful for us, is that good natural dialogue. Now, I want to make a disclaimer. This call sequence, or this call process, I should say, is drafted for an investor or a wholesaler who's looking to purchase a property for them to invest in. Now, if you're a real estate agent looking to get a listing, this process is probably not the best method, right? And I honestly couldn't give you advice. I've literally never done a cold call to prospect for a listing. But the reason why it's so important that I say this is you need to know what you're getting into. And I'm going to have another video on this regarding the goal of the cold call. But just remember, if you're looking to list the property first and foremost, you don't want to go in asking if they want to get an offer. Or if your goal is to buy the property, you don't want to go into a conversation asking if they want to list. You have to stick with purchase first, and if they don't want to sell you their house, then transition to a listing. Because once you cross that barrier, you cannot go back. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to have a whole series on this, and as I build up the series, I'm going to put links down on all the descriptions of all these videos, linking to each little part, so you can always kind of jump around to each section. This is all to come, so bear with me. I'm not saying this is all going to be done today. It may take me a few weeks to put all these things out here for you. It may never get finished, I'm going to be honest with that. But this is a start at least. So I'm hoping this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, if you have any concerns, reach out to me on Facebook, right? I try to be as receptive as I can on Facebook. I would put my email address below, but I don't want to get my email box filled up since it'll be put on the internet. But reach me on Facebook. Again, I'm pretty receptive, and I love to help you guys out. Love to be able to tailor some of these videos to anything you guys may see to be beneficial to you and your businesses. And if I can just answer any questions you have, I'll do what I can for you. Keep in mind, again, I may not respond immediately, but I will respond back to you as fast as possible. So guys, I love it. Hopefully you guys found some value in this video, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.